Guys, in this training, I'm going to be going through the updated sleep stack, okay? So, an evidence based system for deeper sleep, faster recovery, and more energy as a parent. So, if we look at improving our sleep overall, what are the areas we have to focus on? We have to focus on the schedule, aligning our sleep with our biology, the environment in terms of what our bedroom looks like and what our environment looks like before bed and around bed in general, and then the supplements, so the evidence backed stuff that's really going to improve your sleep. But this would come in order. So this would come in order of priority: the schedule, the environment, and then the supplements. Okay. So sleep really is the foundation. You can't out train, out eat, or out supplement poor sleep. Okay, your growth hormone is released during deep sleep. So if you're looking to see an improvement in overall body composition and even an improvement in muscle mass, then sleep is incredibly important there. Fat metabolism, as I've went over in community calls and other educational videos, that the amount of body weight lost or the amount of body fat lost for a given caloric deficit is impacted severely when our sleep is disrupted. So for the same amount of body weight lost, I think it's a 50% reduction in fat mass lost, and therefore increased lean mass lost for the same caloric deficit. I think for a 5.5 hour sleep window or sleep cycle versus an 8 hour sleep cycle. So a huge impact there, as well as the impact on ghrelin and leptin, your hunger and satiety signaling, and your ability to stick to your calories and your caloric adherence throughout a day. Cognitive function, we've all probably experienced this as parents, when you feel like you're not even in your own body, you're just walking about absolutely spaced out because you're that exhausted. And it's easy to understand that that's going to be severely impacted as well. There really isn't a system in the body that isn't negatively impacted by a poor night's sleep. Testosterone as well, all these testosterone improving supplements and all these things and all these marketing gimmicks that are out there. The best thing that you can do is be getting like 7.5 to 8.5 hours sleep, a real quality deep sleep. That's what's going to improve your testosterone, probably more than any of these other fancy bells and whistles. But unfortunately, that isn't as sexy as those types of things, but it is probably going to be the most impactful. And the problem is, most people are trying to optimize training or nutrition, or focusing on training and nutrition, when it's built upon rocky foundations. Like 5 to 6 hours sleep per night is not enough. Even if the supplements are there and you take all the stuff, but you're only in bed 6 hours before your alarm goes off, it's not enough. Do you know what I mean? So even if you're doing all the supplemental things, it's not going to be enough for you. And that's why the schedule is the first thing that we focus on. So if we work backwards from when our alarm goes off, okay, like 7.5 hours is a good aim. 90-minute sleep cycles, 5 complete cycles is going to be there. So 8 to 10 hours before you're getting into bed, before you want to be sleeping, you should have a caffeine cut off. Some people are a lot more sensitive to this than others. Some people, for me, getting into bed at maybe 9 o'clock at night, sleeping by 9:30 latest, I probably don't want to have caffeine much later than 10, 11 a.m. I notice that when I do reduce it, I do see an improvement in sleep. Then if I go 8.5 hours out from when my alarm goes off in the morning, I want the wind down to begin. So no devices, no screens, maybe just reading, doing a bit of journaling, sitting, having a conversation with my wife, whatever it is, just a bit of a debrief of the day, but something that's, we're just calming the body down and we're getting ready for bed. And then 7.5 hours before my alarm goes off, it's lights out sleep time. Okay, there's no two ways about it. That's the best way to be consistent. It is having those regular sleep and wake times. This is another thing as well. Like even in the weekends, where we want to stay up late and then sleep in, you don't get that deep sleep. The majority of your deep sleep comes in those first couple of sleep cycles. If you stay up later, you miss those cycles. You don't then get it back. Even if you sleep in and get the same amount of time in bed, you won't get the same amount of deep sleep. You won't feel as rested. This is just one of those things, if you stick with it, if you've got like a 5 a.m. wake time like me, like I'm 5 a.m. every single day, and I feel better on the weekends for getting up at 5 a.m. Even if I'm not training, I can get up, I can read, I can do something, I can have some time for myself, I can do a little bit of life admin and all the shit that you need to do, and you will feel a lot better for it. I can guarantee you that. Now, if we look at the environment, having the room as cool as possible which is still comfortable. You don't want to be cold, but you want to be cool. Again, that's going to help us get into that deeper sleep and stay in that deep sleep for longer. One of these, a Mantra sleep mask. Oh my god, this thing is an absolute game changer. So when I did night shift, this was when I got real deep into trying to optimize my sleep as much as possible, because you know how much night shift really affects your sleep and your overall recovery. And I'm still obviously trying to make progress while I was on night shift as well. So if you can't make your room pitch black, have one of these masks. It's an easiest thing to do. Silicone earplugs, again, they work really well just for not being disrupted by noise or having some white noise or something like that in the background. The binaural beats playlist that you get, there's an 8-hour binaural beats podcast on Spotify free. You can just chuck that on, find something that you like there, or just some kind of white noise. You put it on for our kids when we think about improving their sleep, and then we stop doing it for ourselves. It depends who you are. I can't sleep in a room that's silent. My head just starts running. Thoughts start racing straight away. So like having some sort of white noise in the background works really well for me. Other people need complete silence. It is what it is in terms of your environment, what works best for you. This comes with a wee bit of trial and error as well. And then phone out of the bedroom would be the best way to do it. I know for some people maybe it's a wee bit harder. I think everybody could buy an alarm clock. Like, I don't think that's too much of a stretch, but phone out of the bedroom I think would be a fantastic idea. Okay, let's jump into the supplements. Magnesium L-threonate. Okay, so this is something that you've probably seen Sandra and Dan had brought up about the research on magnesium L-threonate and the improvements that they have seen on this. Myself and my wife have been trying this over the last number of weeks and have seen a pretty significant improvement in sleep as well. So magnesium L-threonate is the only form of magnesium that's going to be able to cross the blood-brain barrier and actually have a direct effect on magnesium levels in the brain. Glycine, another great one that I've been using for a long period of time, is going to lower your core body temperature, which is going to, getting into the deepest form of sleep is how quickly you can lower your core body temperature. That's the key indicator of getting to that point. So glycine helping lower core body temperature, again, is going to help you get into that deep form of sleep quicker. L-theanine, another great one as well. It's going to help have a calming effect on the brain. You know, if you feel that wired or that anxious state, having L-theanine, which naturally occurs in green tea, so even having a cup of green tea, if you feel a bit wired from having a coffee, if you have a green tea right after it, it'll round that kind of, the spikes off in terms of that kind of rush in caffeine or that rush in energy, that kind of nervous, anxious energy. So this is another really good one, and you can stack all three of these together, and this is going to be a really comprehensive sleep stack. So let's look at the full system at a glance. Cutting off caffeine, 8 to 10 hours before sleep, or whatever that is for you. The more that the larger that window, the better it is. No devices 8.5 hours before your alarm goes off, or an hour before you're due to go to sleep. Lights out, sleeping 7.5 hours before your alarm. Same wake and sleep times every day. That would be the best. All right, not everybody's going to be able to do it, but that would definitely be the best. Environment, Mantra sleep mask, some silicone earplugs, the coolest room that you can have, cool without being cold, bit of white noise, binaural beats, phone out of the bedroom as well, and then finally on the supplements, magnesium L-threonate, glycine and theanine, okay? And start in this order, okay? Get the schedule right, get the environment right, and then look to sprinkle the supplements on top.